Hey everybody, Brett here, bringing you another replay commentary for Total War Warhammer 2. And this replay is going to be a little bit different. It's of a game I played. I'll go ahead and pause it. It's a game I played the other day, and it really brought to light for me some of the problems with the multiplayer quick battle community in Total War Warhammer. And it really made me feel like there were a lot of things that CA needs to change, especially if they want their multiplayer community to grow and to be a healthier place for people to have fun and to play. So I'm just gonna let it play in slow motion. I'm playing the Lizardmen. I've got Mazda Mundi, front line of skink cohorts, as well as 2 Sora spears on the flanks. I've got 2 skink cohorts with javelins in the middle, and I have 2 feral bastillodons on the flanks with a revivification crystal in the center for healing. And out here, I have 2 skink chiefs on stegodons with the long-range artillery pieces. My opponent went high elves. They have just a regular prince on a star dragon, I believe. They brought the fireborn dragon princes, great eagle, in addition to 2 artillery pieces of their own. They brought the eagle claw bow throwers, front line of spearmen, swordmaster of Hoeth, phoenix guard, and a high mage with arcane unforging and apotheosis as the spells, hoping probably to disrupt my spell casting on Mazda Mundi and heal up their stronger single target entities. Now, I started this game. My game plan was to skirmish a bit, kind of dictate the pace of this match with my skink chiefs and their longer range. Their mobile artillery, get a few pot shots off and move them back. Their benefit is that with their cold blood, they're able to heal themselves. So even though they'll be taking shots from eagle claw bow throwers, they'll heal through it and then they'll return fire. Now, I noticed my opponent was bringing forward his prince and his great eagle to harass, and these 2 guys are pretty strong. They're not really scared of them, but just in case he wanted to bring up his fireborn, which he looks like he is, I brought forward my spears to kind of help. Now, I turned these guys on this eagle and just punish it. An eagle is way too squishy to kind of go in on its own. If I was my opponent, I probably would not have done that. Maybe his hope was just to interrupt my firing as fast as possible. He tries to get a breath attack off, but I keep them mobile. Now, it starts off, this seems to be a pretty good game. Now, we each have our strategies. We're trying to implement them. He kind of wants to cheese, snipe my lord with bolt throwers and force me to come to him. Probably not expecting a double skink chief, standoff range build from the Lizardmen. I would say that's pretty rare. I'm going to back my guys up and go ahead and get him out of the range of his bolt throwers. That way he has to actually move them. And I'm going to continue to screen with the spears and the double javelins. Moving my line back, making him come to me. He's bringing his mage up. Probably going to cast a arcane unforging here on Mazda Mundi. Yep, there it goes. And I'm just going to counter that. Mazda Mundi has a pretty huge health pool. Just going to probably pop an apotheosis on him and heal him up. And, he disengaged from these skink chiefs, and I'm going to punish that. This whole retreat, you can see the dead bodies of the fireborn, extremely expensive and very powerful dragon prince unit, is running away and getting picked apart by those artillery pieces. And it's about at this point that I'm starting to feel very confident. My opponent has to come to me. The entire time I'm going to be taking shots with my skink chiefs. These shots don't really bother me because I can pop cold blood, heal up, heal through it. And at some point I'm going to decide to just ignore these bolt throwers. I don't think they're going to have a huge impact on this game. And yeah, right, I've changed the pace of the game. I've made it so that my opponent has to come to me if he wants to fight. His infantry is better than my infantry. and we'll see him moving up. He's changed his focus to Mazda Monday. He's going to try and snipe him out. I'm using the Revivification Crystal in conjunction with Apotheosis to get some good heals off. And see another Starbreath Dragon going down. He brought the Eagle back to get punished again. So, you know, I'm taking the damage, I'm healing it back. I'm taking the damage, I'm healing it back. I also brought Mazda Monday's unique item, which gives him AoE missile resistance for everyone within a certain radius around him. So in case they had brought some of their more powerful ranged infantry units, Mazda Monday would be able to stand up well against that. Yeah, he's trying to engage, taking down the Eagle, taking good pot shots on the Fireborn. It's a pretty standard match. It hasn't gone terribly wrong yet. Engage the Phoenix Guard against the Saurus Spears. Phoenix Guard will definitely win this with their physical resistance. Spearmen versus Skink Cohorts. Spearmen can take that fight pretty easily, especially 2-on-1. I get a Ruination of Cities into these units, doing quite a bit of damage for Mazda Mundi. He brings in his Star Dragon, hoping to snipe Mazda Mundi. And I'm going to go ahead and actually nearly break the Prince. Getting some heals on my Skink Cohorts. I'm recognizing that I'm going to need them to be in this fight to soak damage from me. A little friendly fire from his own artillery piece kills some of the Dragon Princes. Mazda Money's taking a lot of damage. I am healing him. I'm basically using him as a sponge at this point. My opponent's forces are very spread out, so getting a good banishment or a good ruination of cities is difficult. So I just looked for a blumped up kind of unit that I could isolate and stack a banishment on top of. He's going in once again for another kind of alpha strike. And unfortunately I am very close to the edge of the map, so if he does manage to break Mazda Mundi, he's going to be able to chase him off. Getting some poison javelin throws from these guys. Basically exactly why they're here, just to keep people out of my back line or discourage that. Really should have engaged them here and try and give Mazda Mundi a little more. There we go. I go ahead and get him engaged. I pull my chiefs back from the front line. At this point realizing that Mazda Mundi isn't getting healed as quickly as I need him to. A small mistake I made was leaving my Revivification Crystal in combat in the front line, too far away from the units that might need it. So I was trying to path him back to Mazda Mundi to get that heal off, but he was stuck. He was stuck in combat and couldn't get out. Around this point I'm noticing, you know, the bolt throwers are running low on ammunition. My front line is still somewhat healthy. My two Skink Chiefs are very healthy. And they're doing quite a lot of work on his Prince. His scariest unit on the field is probably, or was, the Fireborn. But they've been basically taken out. Can't do much with 12 models. The Phoenix Guard are probably the strongest counter to what I have left. They're a unit that just pretty much fights to the end every time. See, I'm trying to bring this Bastillodon back to heal someone, anyone, get them back in the fight. It's become quite a grind in the front line. These Sword Masters are fighting this Bastillodon. Their armor piercing is going to make this a pretty easy win for them. But when they're rampaging like this, they don't really care. They'll do damage, they'll hold these guys back, while I really take advantage of the strength left in my hero core, as well as whatever routing and returning infantry I have left. Bolt thrower is just about out of ammunition. Their caster is probably nearly out of Winds of Magic. We have quite a few rampaging units and quite a few units that are broken that I hope will return. At this point, I'm actually going to fast forward, because it was around this point that I realized that I had this game, that this game was pretty much wrapped up for me. I felt like, I was going to break his infantry, route them off the field. He's trying to do the same. And he's got a few units of high tier infantry left in the sword masters. The Eagle Claw bow throwers are out of ammunition. They can just pull themselves off their artillery. And at this point, I'm thinking my opponent's going to try and regroup. He's going to try and regroup, and maybe he's a newer player. Maybe he thinks at this point he has a chance against, these very strong hero units. But I've played enough of these games to know that, this scenario is pretty hopeless in a one-on-one. So I'm just doing my best to kind of force army losses. I'm chasing down units, getting them off the field. It looks to me like he's consolidating. He's trying to bring his guys into one place, so I'm going to do the same. And I'm expecting, at this point, to have kind of a climactic battle. And I wanted to let my opponent know it was a good game. Send him the GGs, the polite GGs. And he responds no. Now I'm thinking, either he's being rude, or he just doesn't realize yet that there's probably no way for him to come back to this game, or he just wants to play it out to the finish, which is fine with me. I enjoy that too. But then things start getting a little weird. Basically, my opponent gets pretty belligerent, cursing, just saying pretty derogatory things about Americans in general. Just completely unnecessary bad manner type of play. And at that point I realized that my opponent was just going to try and draw kite me. Now draw kiting, if you don't know, is basically when you have one unit that's faster than all of your opponent's units, and you just run around the field until this timer runs out. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to use this high mage to evade all of my units, and they're going to force us to go to time so that they have a draw instead of a loss. Now there's a leaderboard in this game. Some people, I understand, get really competitive and they really care about their standing on the leaderboard. But it's my feeling that if you have to resort to these type of tactics to win a game or to draw a game or just to not lose a game, so that you can keep a position, that doesn't really mean much in a video game where the competitive play, doesn't really offer you anything. There's no cash value, to being rank 1 on the leaderboard for Total War Warhammer 2. But what you do is you limit the number of people that want to play with you. By using these type of tactics and using that type of language and being kind of abusive, you really limit the amount of fun really that you can have in a game like this. If I was a newer player, less experienced, and this was one of my first ever ladder games, quick battles, I would probably just drop this game right here. I'd be like, okay, what's the point of ever trying to win if my opponent can do something like ridiculous like that? And this is a pretty common problem, a pretty common gripe that a lot of people have. CA, to their credit, have tried to fix this by adding in things like flying units have to land if they're the last things on the battlefield. They've added army losses, which is to say that if your entire army is gone, in the balance of power, that yellow-red bar in the center there goes too heavily in your opponent's favor, you lose. So those are two very constructive fixes, I feel. They don't quite go far enough, and maybe the best suggestion that I've seen to help fix this issue is to add some sort of capture the flag, high ground, king of the hill-esque mechanic where if the game goes past 15 minutes, a circle is drawn somewhere on the map that both players have to bring both their units into, and in kind of a Fortnite PUBG-esque circle shrinking to force units into combat. And at that point, whoever wins, is declared the winner. I see no reason why there should ever be a draw scenario in any competitive type Total War Warhammer 2 quick battles. I don't understand why they haven't kind of closed that loop on it yet. Hopefully in the future they will. I also would like to point out that this video is not just to rag on Captain Red Rouge, but to say that if you have a really bad attitude, the only person you're hurting is the potential player that you probably just pushed away from the game. So we all want more people to play with. We all want our competitive multiplayer communities for any game to be as fun as possible and abuse free. So with all that said, I'd like to thank you for watching, and have a great day.